All right, what is going on, everybody? Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate you guys being a part of the post game show. Golden State Warriors over the Lakers, 111 to 103. We got two preseason games in the books. Kind of a weird schedule. Lakers don't play again until next Sunday. For some reason, that one just went right by me until today's game. I'm looking. I'm like, all right, when am I doing this again? Next Sunday. So we got four more preseason games left to go. Got a lot to get into. Definitely some things that I want to hit on from tonight's game. I thought a little bit better of a performance than their preseason game number one. Individual performances that I want to talk about more than anything else. So we're going to do that. We'll get a chance to hear from JJ Redick. I appreciate you guys hanging out for the post-game show. Just a reminder, I got my morning show tomorrow starting at 8 a.m., so you guys can be a part of that as well. That'd be phenomenal. Okay. Got a few things just right out the gate that I'm going to hit on. As soon as JJ talks, we'll get a listen. Kind of a similar theme, honestly, after game one. Please do me a favor. Do not pay crazy attention to these preseason games right now. The Golden State Warriors had everybody tonight. You know, they were playing, I think, literally most of their guys, maybe Seth Curry, I see didn't play, but for the most part, Draymond got some PT, Jonathan Kuminga, Steph Curry, Al Horford. Go down the list of some of their key players, Jimmy Butler. This right now for the Lakers is more about anything else is, are you starting to see some type of a rotation? Can some players stand out that maybe when LeBron comes back and Luka comes back, and we saw Austin Reeves in the first preseason game, we didn't see him in this game. So, obviously there's another key player that was missing. For me, I'm just trying to see some of these individual players and see what they look like, what their conditioning looks like. If they could stand out in any regards without some of those key players. That's all I'm really paying attention to be honest with you. And I thought for the most part in today's game, I thought it was better than game one. Now, granted, Lakers ended up, losing again. But I just don't want people when you come on here and you're on here for the post-game show to really pay attention like it's a regular season game. And it's like, oh my God, did they win? Did they lose? What do you mean they lost? They're 0-2 in preseason. All that doesn't mean anything. But let me kind of walk through a few things that I did like. I will say this. There were more positives in today's game or tonight's game than there was from Friday night's game. Friday was it was a weird vibe. There was no point in that game, no flow to that game. Everybody shot horrible from the field other than, you could say Austin Reeves. I didn't like Ayton's game. There were a lot of players that I walked away with. Vando, I wasn't crazy about his game. I'm talking about on Friday. Tonight, we can at least walk away and have some discussion about individual players and say, okay, you know what, that if he can have that type of performance when all our guys come back and they're in the regular season, man, they could use that type of performance. So let's do this. Let's start off. I want to start looking at some of the individual performances. Again, if JJ Redick talks, I'm just going to go right to JJ so we can look at that. But I did this on what day was it? On Friday. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to share the box score here, and I think this will be good to obviously walk through together as we take a quick look at it and we analyze the Lakers game so we can have this out really just kind of in the background. Let me do this first. I'm going to do the team stats first, and then I'll get into some of the individual players because I do want to hit on the individual players. Right out the gate, Lakers shooting percentage, if you guys look here, so much better than in game one. They shot 41% from the field, even got to 35% from the three-point line, hit a couple threes there towards the end. At least from that perspective, you kind of look at it, it wasn't as lopsided. It was really bad in game one. You want guys to be hitting their shots. You want guys to kind of have some confidence about themselves, feel a certain way about their play, hope that some of this can translate to when the regular season starts. Don't tell me that if Dalton Knecht sees a couple buckets go in, he's not going to get some confidence in that, or Gabe Vincent, or DeAndre Ayton. It helps when I get it. Nobody's going to be looking back at these games and saying anything, but I do feel like there's something about just guys getting into some type of a rhythm, guys that are not 100% sure what their role is going to be with the Lakers, how many minutes they're going to play. Are they going to be in there in crunch time? I want to see the ball go through the hoop. And I think you could say that about some of the individual players. But as I sit here and we kind of look at, obviously some of the team stats, I'll just spend a quick second on some of the team stats, and then I'll go into some of the individual players that I was referring to. So some of the team stats, this is very, very common. Look at both teams. 19 turnovers for the Lakers, 21 for the Golden State Warriors, so no real surprise there. I don't mind the 25 assists. Problem is Golden State had 35 assists. Biggest lead for the Warriors. They built that lead up to 24. I think they ended the first half on a 10-0 run, and then that run just continued. I can't remember off the top of my head. Was it like 22-2 or something along those lines? But Golden State went from, hey, this is kind of a close game. Lakers have a 5-6 point lead to Lakers are getting blown out. Second half came. Lakers made it a little bit better, but that's primarily because the Warriors started taking some of their main players out. This is what I mean by individual players. I'm going to walk through a couple of the guys that I do want to highlight tonight. And again, I'm going to go back to I think there's some takeaways you can walk away from this preseason game and say, okay, hey, that's a positive right there. Hey, I'm glad that player came through. Let me give you some of those players. A couple of the players here. I thought Vando had a nice night, nice evening, and I'm also just kind of a fan of seeing him from a health perspective. He looks healthy, and I think if you're asking for one thing from a player like Jared Vanderbilt, you're hoping, hey, can he get to 65, 70 games this year? Can he be around? I got Spectrum on in the background. There was a moment Draymond Green put a screen on Vando. Vando didn't like it. He immediately got up and kind of got in the face of Draymond Green. Kind of what Vando brings to the table. I mean, if you're trying to think of every team needs a couple enforcers, every team needs a couple guys that don't back down, or there's a little bit of a tussle going on down low. One of your guys is going to come into the thick of it. Lakers have a couple of those guys this year. Vando is definitely one. Marcus Smart is definitely going to be another one of those guys. But I thought Vando tonight, 9 points, 4 of 8 from the field. Love that portion of it. I mean, not that the Lakers are going to be asking him to shoot 50% from the field, but I do think there's some positives if that's something that, he can be somewhat of a threat offensively for the Lakers. I think obviously that would be helpful. Again, just managing your expectations when it comes to Vando. But Vando, 9 points, 3 steals, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. That's a great night for Jared Vanderbilt. Is LeBron, Luka, Austin Reeves, are all these guys not there, plus Marcus Smart? Yes, I get it. Is Vando going to do that every night? No, he's not. But can I say Vando was healthy? And can I say Vando, when he was in the game, gave the Lakers some good minutes? So that's obviously a good sign. Let me point out a couple other players that I thought had good nights tonight that it's going to be important for them to build some momentum because eventually the main guys are going to come back. And guys like Vando are going to have to figure out a way to stay on the floor and be productive for the Lakers. Gabe Vincent, 4-9 from the field, hit 3 threes, hit all his free throws, had a moment there. He got those 16 points pretty early. I mean, he only ended up playing 19 minutes in this game, but 16 points, 5 assists. Listen, if you're telling me guys that I'm confident about this upcoming season, I'm not putting Gabe Vincent on that list. I'm just not. For Gabe, I've watched the last 2 years, and whether he's been unavailable or just doesn't look like he's been able to really impact the way you thought he was going to when you left Miami and came to the Lakers, however you look at it, I'm not sold on a guy like Gabe Vincent. So when I see Gabe Vincent have a night like tonight, my hope is, well, maybe Gabe thinks he's going to have opportunities to contribute this upcoming year. But he had a good night tonight. Now, does that mean that that's going to translate into the regular season? I got no idea, right? I think there's no way of obviously predicting that. Does that mean it's a guaranteed and a lock that Gabe Vincent's now going to find himself one of the first guys off the bench and he's going to be chipping in with 13 points a game this year? No, it doesn't. But he had 16. He did contribute. He definitely helped the Lakers. And I think in that first half, he was one of the real highlights for the Lakers. The shooting percentage was up. They hit some of their threes primarily because of Jared Vanderbilt. Because of Gabe Vincent. A couple other guys I'm going to point out here. One of the guys, when I did the postgame show on Friday, I really started the postgame show saying, Ayton, where you at, brother? We want to see you have your opportunities, especially in a game like this where a lot of the key players are not playing. They got to run more things through DeAndre and JJ Redick was asked about it post-game. And then DeAndre Ayton talked post-game on Friday. And, man, I loved his quotes. I'm going to expand more on that tomorrow. I'll get into it when I do my morning show because that was one of the things that stuck out to me in game one. But he just basically said, listen, I almost on purpose wasn't shooting. I want to establish that it's not about for me getting my numbers. It's not about me offensively. It's about me trying to help out any way I can for the team and to play solid defense. So I just thought mentally for him, I liked where he was. I'm going to come back to the Ayton conversation, but let me do that in just a second. JJ's starting to talk right now. So let me share my screen here real quick, and let's get JJ Redick. Take a listen.
What was going on at the start of the third quarter. But outside of that those two stretches, I thought we played much better.
You would be among the more qualified people in the world to kind of take us through Vanderbilt's shot, and just it just looks a little cleaner from a layman's perspective, and the release and all that, and just added with how he looks physically and defensively, all the stuff that he can do. Does that make you think even a little bit more about, all right, maybe you could find some more minutes for him, or not find, but you almost have to consider?
People are going to earn minutes. I think that goes for everybody. I've been very impressed by just the amount of work that he's done this summer on his game, and obviously his body is significantly better than this time last year, or even when the season ended. He's moving better. His handle is tighter. I'd never have ever seen him make a Euro D-cell finish. It's good. He's been working on his game, and the shot is sort of the big thing with him. If he can be a consistent three-point shooter for us, that unlocks a lot.
Sticking with Vando, he made a corner three. He had another one that he missed, but he gave it a shot to make it, and obviously he filled the stat sheet all over the place. I know you told us you don't really care about the starting lineup, and it's not something that you're spending a ton of time considering. But is there a consideration for him with the starting group?
Again, I said that we started 24 lineups last year. The team that started, or the lineup that started the season for us, started 8 games together, and we made a change. So I'm of course open to things, of course, and like I said, everything's going to have to be earned.
JJ, when this team signed Gabe Vincent, he was coming off a stretch where he was pretty on the ball as a scorer in Miami. He's been asked, whether through injury or happenstance, to kind of play a different role. Are there ways to kind of lean into some of his strengths on the ball, even though you have Austin and Luka and LeBron, and do you think he'd mentioned to us that like the adjustment to moving off the ball it's a big one for him? How have you kind of seen him handle that shift?
Gabe and I have talked about it a ton, and whether he likes a role, doesn't like a role, you're going to get the same version of him every single day. I like. Tonight was an example, but I just like the pace that he plays with. Chase action, coming off pick and roll. Like, he just has a natural way of moving with urgency, and we for sure need that. And we'll continue to look at ways to allow him to play to his strengths.
Is that, this is probably a big picture, but is that the challenge, that taking somebody who would be, in rhythm when they get 10 or 11 shots and finding a way for them to feel like they're in rhythm when they get 30% of that or 40% of that?
Yeah, it's really difficult. It's really difficult. Again, we've talked about it. I lived it as a player, so I can relate to it. It's hard, but I just, having that guy in our locker room, again, another night where I thought his leadership was very obvious. He's a valued member of our team, regardless of whatever the on or off ball role is.
You were pretty high on.
All right, final one here. Final one.
Once he's shown you in these 2 first preseason games, but not only in the games, but also in practice.
I think it's just, for him continuing. He's done a lot of work since summer league to get in better shape, and he's still got a little bit of ways to go there. But he's incredibly versatile, and he does a lot of things really well. I think at times tonight got a little sped up, trying to do too much, I guess, but that's not the role he's going to have for us. He's certainly can play some on the ball as an initiator and secondary creator. I like his activity level, and I think as he continues to get into the type of shape that we're all going to be in, that activity level will just increase.
Okay. Stop it right there. They're still going, but I got a lot to respond to. So, by the way, really, really solid comments. You guys got some great topics for me in this post-game show. So I appreciate everybody lobbing in some comments that you think will be helpful to the show. So I appreciate it. Okay, so real quick here. Let me respond to something that JJ Redick just said. He said that a little bit earlier. He said it a couple times, basically about how guys are going to have to earn their minutes. And I see a lot of the comments here that are very, very positive in regards to Jared Vanderbilt, how he was able to contribute, and just how he was, obviously able to do what he did this season, what he did this game. And I like what JJ basically said. It's like, look, all good, but everyone's going to have to earn their minutes. When you really think about it, I think we know there's certain guys that are going to get rotation minutes. It's easy. I mean, it's simple, right? LeBron's as many minutes LeBron wants to play, he's going to play. And maybe LeBron a little bit more strategic because of the 23rd season. Luka's going to play 30-plus minutes. Austin Reeves is going to play 30-plus minutes. We don't have to. DeAndre Ayton's going to play as many minutes as he possibly wants because they need him, and they don't have another big that they can depend on. Jackson Hayes is not a starter, nor is he going to play starter minutes. The guy's supposed to be coming off the bench giving you 10, 12, 15 minutes a game. When he said, you're going to have to earn your minutes, how many different guys go to your mind when you're like, you got to earn your minutes? Let's use tonight as an example. Does Gabe Vincent need to earn his minutes, or do you think he's already earned them? Of course he has to earn them. Gabe Vincent's not owed anything to the Los Angeles Lakers. Nothing. Final year of his contract. He's been disappointing in his first 2 years. He's got to earn it. Okay, pick another name. Let's go Vando, Jared Vanderbilt. If he's taking 4 threes a game, and he's 0-6 from the field, and yes, has some good defensive presence, but he's really hurting the Lakers because of his offense, then I'm pretty sure JJ Redick isn't going to give him the benefit of the doubt. He's going to say, all right, you know what? Maybe I can't play Vando as many minutes. I'm just making things up here, right? I'm not saying that Vando is not going to have a good season or an effective season. Maybe you could say Marcus Smart is kind of on that vet list that's like, yeah, he's going to get his minutes. Of course, he's got to be injured, or he's got to be healthy and not injured. There are so many players on this Lakers team that shouldn't be promised anything. Rui Hachimura should not be promised a thing. Rui Hachimura should be on the same page of go earn your minutes. Dalton Knecht, go earn your minutes. Jake LaRavia is going to get plenty of opportunities. If he's not playing well, he shouldn't have the benefit of the doubt. The point I think I'm making is when I hear JJ Redick say that about Vando, it's like, look, everyone's going to have to earn their minutes. That's the right approach to have. It's the right approach to have with this team because of their roster, because of how many guys are going to be fighting for X amount of playing time and everything else. I'm sure there's a guy or two that I missed out. I like that. I like that mentality. Yeah, go earn it. Because other than the key players and your bigs and maybe a vet here and there, all these other guys are going to have to figure it out and earn it. So I'm actually a fan of what JJ Redick said right there. Okay, let me do this. Let me take a look at some of the comments because, like I said, when I was going through this, and I still got other guys that I want to talk about, when JJ started talking, I was in the middle of talking about DeAndre Ayton, and just to kind of finish off that point on DeAndre Ayton, I really, really liked what he had to say after game one about, hey, look, it's not about me. It's not about my individual stats. I just want to go out there and show the team that I'll do whatever it takes to win. 7 points, 7 rebounds tonight, took 8 shots, a little bit more active. That was early in the game. Had a couple of block shots. You felt his defensive presence. And really where you're going to really feel DeAndre Ayton is when everybody's back. When the Lakers had a presser probably about 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, whenever it was. And it was JJ Redick and it was Rob Pelinka. And that was before training camp started. My question to JJ Redick was about Ayton specifically and some of his expectations for Ayton. And he really went out of his way to say that because Ayton and Chris Paul had worked so long together and it wasn't easy, that he's going to just shine with Luka in that pick and roll and that action with a point guard. So I know he's looking forward to that. I didn't know we were going to get Jake. Let's get Laravia here real quick. Let's hear what he's got to say of the Lakers' loss. Take a listen.
And that goes along with just winning the day. We thought when we played Phoenix, we didn't. And today we thought we did a good amount better. Obviously, still not the result that we wanted, but we're working in the right direction right now. There were a couple spurts during the game where, obviously they made a lot of shots. We didn't get a lot of stops. But for the most part, I thought we competed, played physical. And yeah.
At this point, I don't know how much positions matter in the NBA, just with all of the switching and stuff. But it seems like you've been playing a little bit more on the perimeter, especially with all the guys that have been out. But JJ has mentioned you have that skill set. I know you grew up as a guard, but once Luka, Austin, LeBron are all out there, how do you feel like you'll be doing some similar things these first two games, or does that kind of change where you'll be and what you'll be expected to do?
Yeah, because I imagine there'll still be lineups where I do. Like if Luka's out of the game or whatever it is, that I will have the ball in my hands to be able to be that connector piece. But obviously I will be more spaced out, shooting, reading closeout stuff when they're all back. But yeah, I thought this game, obviously the shot wasn't really falling for me, but yeah, try to do other things.
You got a couple tough ones to fall though.
Yeah, a couple.
Yeah, you had a little flurry in the third quarter. You had that connection with Rui where he saw you running. I think you finished at the rim. How did even those little things help in the process of just getting to where you want to be, feeling as comfortable as possible with this team before opening night?
Yeah. To be honest, I think I'm already pretty comfortable with the role that I have and the role that's been given to me and what, me and JJ have talked about. Again, it's obviously going to be different when Luka and LeBron and AR are all in the lineup and I'm, thrown in with them. It'll be more of me being that spacer rather than being on ball and being the connecting piece. But yeah, either way, I'm comfortable doing both things. So
I asked all the same thing. Imagine either
All right, final one.
camp or summer pickup runs. You've had Vando guarding you. He's been wreaking havoc on your last two opponents in that position. What's it like having Vando clamp down on you on the defensive end?
Yeah, he's real physical. Obviously, he's a vet, so he knows certain things as well. Yeah, he's just a really physical defender, so he's good at that. He's good at using his hands, getting steals, deflections also. But yeah, just a really physical on-body defender. And yeah, he's done really well the first two games.
All right, stop it right there. Keep going. I want to look at some of the comments, but obviously Jake Laravia getting a chance to kind of react to today's game. I think for the most part, most of these role players. Listen, I'm curious to see Jake Laravia on a night-in, night-out basis. And see how he's eventually going to fit in with this Lakers team. And I like what he was saying about, what his role was today. He's going to be wildly different when the other players come back, predominantly play off the ball. He's going to have to try to get his buckets any way that he can, be creative, cut to the basket, know that LeBron and Luka will get you the ball if you're at the right place at the right time. All right, let's take a look. But by the way, you can kind of see the theme of a lot of these people's, a lot of the reporters. Most of the theme here has been on Jared Vanderbilt. All right, let me look at some of the comments here. I'd like to officially apologize for doubting Sliwa. 100% Vando needs to start. You called it. By the way, number one, you don't need to apologize because I'm going to get 37 things wrong in the process of getting one thing right. That's what happens when you have a microphone in front of you for how often I have a mic in front of me. But here's a reality too. There's no guarantee Vando is going to start. I mean, this was just my idea based off of having somebody in the backcourt that you feel like is a real true defender. You got to have balance in that starting lineup. You got to have balance in any lineup. And I almost kind of feel like it's going to be Rui again. And to be honest with you, I don't agree with it. I would like to have a guy like Vanderbilt in there to kind of, mess things up a little bit. And then Luka can go guard one of those other wings or a defender. He can guard somebody on defense. That doesn't have to be one of these fast back courts. And then we could stop talking about Austin Reeves and Luka having to be your defensive backcourt. That's kind of a solution there. By the way, they could potentially do that with Marcus Smart. I just don't know, health for me for Marcus Smart is my biggest concern. But we'll see what happens. To be honest with you, I'd be surprised if Vando got the start. So I'd like to see that, but I'd be surprised if that happens. I have a feeling it's gonna be Rui. All right, let's get another one in here. It's a great game. Mariners Tigers. I was watching. You gotta do both. You can't watch both. Got to multitask here. I had the Mariners Tigers game on. I had the Lakers game on. Phenomenal game there. For those who didn't watch it, Mariners won 3-2. I didn't even know this. It's their first playoff win in 24 years. Jesus. Man, the Lakers need to play some games together. Juan, it's a good point. And I know what you're talking about here, that you only get so many of these preseason games. Part of me thinks that the strategy from the Lakers might be a little bit of they played 2, they get 1 week off, and then they get 4 games in like 6 nights or something like that. I mean, they're just going to pump all these games. They got a game next Sunday. I want to say Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. So they're going to pack in these games next week. The following week. So I got to imagine that because that's going to be leading up to opening night, they'll get a few days off before opening night comes. Opening night would be on October 21st, which is a Tuesday. I have to imagine that they're going to start sprinkling in some of these guys. At least Luka and Austin Reeves, I think you're going to start seeing. You probably won't see these guys in a back-to-back. And then we'll see about LeBron. I got no idea. The LeBron factor of this, we'll have to wait and see. But I get your point, Juan, that we're not that far away from the regular season starting, and there is a new mix of some of these different players. It'd be nice to use some of these preseason games to see what these guys look like together before they get the actual season started. Better than last game isn't saying much. You're not wrong there, but it was better than last game. I don't know what you want me to tell you, but it was better. Let me get a couple more of these comments in here, and then we'll go from there. Jake is a downgrade from Dorian Finney-Smith. Listen, if you told me for one season, who do you want? Dorian Finney-Smith or Jake LaRavia? I'd pick Dorian Finney-Smith. A vet, playoff tested, has played with Luka, has that kind of dog in him that you like to have. Jake's got his workout cut for him, his work cut for him, but they're also they're not identical players. LaRavia will probably be a better offensive player than Dorian Finney-Smith, and DFS is a phenomenal defender. So I get that for 1 year, but the Lakers took a different route. And, obviously the route was let's go shorter contract, less money, and younger. That's the idea that the Lakers went with by going with Jake LaRavia. Man, I do miss DFS. So, listen, by the way, I respect that people are mentioning Dorian Finney-Smith. I was a big fan of DFS, and, obviously the Lakers made the move that they did. I understood why they did it. Unfortunately in the playoffs, I was hoping DFS would have more of an impact, but nobody really had the impact that we were looking at. And when the Lakers traded for DFS, because they traded D'Lo and they traded 3 second-rounders, you thought they would have kept him, and that wasn't the case. So we'll see, obviously, what happens moving forward. Okay. Let me get into a couple other things that I want to hit on in regards to tonight's game. And then I also got a couple things I want to get everybody's opinion on in regards to the Golden State Warriors as well. So we'll do that as well. Before I do so, I got to give a shout out to one of our partners here. Shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm, who's been a fantastic partner on the channel. They're starting their partnership, year number 2 of the partnership. This is a kind of a great story. And I always ask Brad Wallace of the Wallace Firm, they're injury attorneys. They can represent anybody in the state of California, serious injury, wrongful death. Please do me a favor. I know there's a lot of different companies out there, billboards up and down Southern California. If you're in need of an injury attorney, go to Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm. We got a site that we created, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. I always ask Brad, I always say, hey, can you send me some information? Can you tell me what's going on in the courtroom? Can you tell me what's happening in some of these cases? That's exactly what he did. About a month ago, an auto insurance company made a $1.25 million offer to one of Brad's clients whose case was going to trial in Palm Springs. After Brad Wallace selected the jury and delivered his opening statement, the insurance company decided to pay Brad's full $2 million demand before the first witness was called to the stand. That's how you execute a win. I love how he always has. He tries to compare this to Lakers, NBA competition, all that stuff. It's a kind of great way of thinking, a great mentality. Again, Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Please support our sponsors and our partners only if you need them. If you're in a serious injury or wrongful death, know that Brad Wallace can help you out. Okay, let's keep going here. I know there's more comments that I want to get into, more of you guys that I want to hear from. Before I do, let's see how much of Dalton Knecht we could catch. Knecht, to me, is always an interesting interview because, we'll see how he does.
That's something that we'll work on and install. And then on the offensive end, we're going to install stuff. So it'll be good to have this week.
Perspective on that Bronny putback dunk?
It's fire. The Brownie's my guy. Seen that multiple times. So I'm not too impressed. It happens all the time.
Dalton, how have the conversations been with JJ about sort of expectations for you and the things that you need to focus on?
What are the things?
How have the conversations been and what have been the things they've been telling you to really focus on?
Just covering all the little mistakes, like a Rui would make. So just staying on top of that, and then they just want me to keep being aggressive on the offensive end, keep hunting my shots, and just be in the right spots at the right time. I'm running to the corners.
When you're a young player who wants to do the right thing on defense and wants to be in the right position and spending time, energy thinking about it, have you found that if you make a mistake on defense that it's affected confidence anywhere else? Like, do you think about it? Like, how are you doing with kind of rolling with those punches?
Well, if you make a mistake, you just go make it up. It's not good to make a mistake, but it happens. And then just the big thing is making sure you just compete. So if you mess up, it's okay. Just keep competing.
All right, James.
All right. Gotta be honest on Dalton Knecht. I was thinking about doing a video yesterday. I ended up not doing it. And it was going to be on Dalton Knecht. Where's everybody's confidence on Dalton Knecht? Because, Knecht, again, as far as the shooting percentage goes, ended up 3 of 11. I don't remember off the top of my head what he did the night before. Maybe it was like 2 of 12. I can't remember off the top of my head. Let me see if I can grab it here. Yeah, most of these stats are going back to the regular season. But I will say this. I will say that my personal confidence in Dalton Knecht, not very high. It just isn't. And, listen, this isn't about a couple preseason games, summer league. He had his moments where he struggled, especially, in the summer league when they got to Vegas. Not necessarily when they were in Sacramento for that Cali Classic. Second-year players like him should be shining in the summer league. That wasn't the case. I always like using the example of Max Christie because I thought Christie, by the time the second year kind of came around, Max Christie was like, yep, that dude's going to be a nice player in the NBA. And for Dalton Knecht, I just don't – I think that he's a player that I got no idea – how much opportunity he's going to get this upcoming year. I got no idea how long that leash is going to be for him, how many opportunities he's going to have. I just don't. I genuinely do not have any idea how that's going to go for him. But my confidence, based on really after the first couple of the months last year to where we're sitting today, I don't got that much confidence in him. And I hate to say that because I want the dude to do well. He was phenomenal to start do you guys remember this early in the season last year? Everybody was like, he's the steal of the draft. If you're a GM out there and you let Dalton Knecht go to the Lakers, you should be fired. I mean, everybody had a strong take and opinion. Here we are, the dust has settled. And I'm just not sure if Knecht is going to have a lot of opportunities. And if he gets opportunities, I'm not sure what he's going to be able to do with them. So that's just a little bit on the Knecht front, just because obviously he was talking right there. So I wanted to at least add that in. let's see what we got here. Let's start reading some of these. How often they run a play for Dalton. It's interesting. Players like Dalton Knecht, you know what? I see too much of him. Think of shooters in the NBA. Shooters, knockdown shooters, guys that, are known for just being snipers. They don't run technically. Sometimes, yes, they do run plays for you. You're coming off a couple of screens. You're maybe coming baseline. It's like you got 2 screens in front of you and you get your look. But my issue with Dalton Knecht, what he's doing too much when he doesn't have the ball, he's just standing around, kind of staring at whoever has the ball. If I'm a shooter like Dalton Knecht, I can't stop moving. I gotta be running around like the Seth Currys do, like the Danny Greens used to do, like JJ Redick used to do. I got to be one of those players where I'm just constantly moving. And if a player just has a little bit of a lapse on defense, I found my pocket, I got my look, and I nail a 3. I think the problem with Dalton Knecht right now is he's not 100% sure how to get open or free himself up. And when he does get those looks, not exactly hitting them as well. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's see what we got here. Get a couple more of these in. Are we going to win a championship? Don't lie on me, Slee. Listen, they're not going to be the favorites. They're clearly not going to be the favorites. I think, if you're talking championship conversation right now, I think you got to look at, if I say, give me 2 teams from the East and give me 2 teams from the West, just give me the favorites, 2 teams in the East, 2 teams in the West. I think we're all going to agree Cleveland, probably one of those teams in the East, probably New York. Those 2 top teams, at least right now, based on roster, those are the top 2 teams in the Eastern Conference. Boston's obviously not going to be there this year because of injuries. Tyrese Halliburton's not there for the Indiana Pacers. Maybe the Milwaukee Bucks can make some type of a case. We'll see what happens there. So if I give you 2 in the East and then I say give me 2 in the West, 2 in the West would be the Thunder and the Nuggets. So got a lot of season to play. Doesn't mean anything. And we'll see what happens by the time Lakers get to mid-December and see if they make any moves or anything like that. But they're not going to be one of your top 3 or top 4 teams that are going to be the favorites to win it. Certainly not going into the season. All right, let's get a couple more comments in here. I did highlight a couple more that I wanted to see. Slee, you worried about energy falling off in the third quarter? I mean, it's preseason, it's been 2 games, but last year that was a problem also. Yeah, maybe I'm a little bit more annoying when it comes to preseason because I do think that everything has value. And if you act a certain way during practice and then you act a certain way during preseason, and then it's very common for it to kind of roll over into the regular season as well. But nothing we could see about the Lakers right now can you judge because LeBron's not there. Luka's not there. Austin Reeves not there. Their key guys aren't there. Okay, I had a couple other notes that I'm going to just go through here real quick. If you guys got some questions, some thoughts about the game, feel free to throw them in. We won't go too much longer on this post-game show. Maybe go 45 minutes total, something like that. So we'll go another 5-6 minutes or so. One thing I just wrote down. So sometimes during games, I'm writing down just some notes and things along those lines. Watching Rui Hachimura these first couple of games, didn't play much. Played 19 minutes, had 4 points, 2 of 4 from the field. One of the things that he said that the team keeps emphasizing and they're asking him to do is they want him to be aggressive. If there's one thing the team is trying to tell Rui Hachimura is be aggressive. One thing I noticed in these first 2 preseason games is if there's ever a time for Rui Hachimura to have 15, 17 points or 6, 7 rebounds or something like that, it's during these preseason games because there's no attention going to some of the other players. And part of the concern I have with Rui about taking him out of the starting lineup is I just don't think he's one of those players that is going to call for the ball or you're going to really feel his presence on offense unless there's so much attention towards LeBron, Luka, Austin Reeves, DeAndre Ayton that he just gets incredible looks or he gets some putbacks around the basket or something along those lines. So Rui's an interesting role. He really is. He's an interesting role. He's an interesting player. And, this is obviously a very important season. We talk so much about how important of a season it is for Ayton, for Smart. It's also an important season for Rui Hachimura as well. Gabe Vincent had 16 points. Let's take a quick listen. Here's Gabe talking about his performance specifically, probably mostly in the first half.
In situations to where I can get them the ball where they need it and try to just be aggressive myself and look for my own shots as well.
And then just how did it look good, but how did it feel your first run, at this point of the preseason? Now we got only, 2.5 weeks until the season opener. How do you feel going into it?
Yeah, I mean, it felt good to have the game back, just simply put in that way, just to go out there and compete, play the game I love, and to go out there and put some minutes together. So obviously it was my first game, our second game of the preseason. We made some strides comparative to last game, and we're just going to continue to try to grow.
And just from your standpoint, any insight into Vanderbilt, the way that he's moving, kind of what he added over the summer and the dimension that can add to the team relative to last year? Obviously, he came in injured and needed all that time to rehab before joining.
Yeah, I mean, I tell Vando all the time, like I get way more comfortable when he's on the floor. Especially when I'm on the floor with him, like it's just knowing the edge and the competitive edge he's bringing, the defensive intensity. He has a high IQ on the offensive side as well. He knows when to get to the next action, when to attack himself. So I've really enjoyed my time playing with Vando, and it's great to watch him play and great to see him moving well.
Kind of along those lines. You know what it's like to have to spend most of your time and energy in the summer recovering from an injury. To have a full summer where I assume that wasn't as big of a priority. Jared going through the same, just how different of a space does that put you in when you come into camp, when you've been able to not spend most of your time on the table and and to be able to be on the court?
Yeah, it's huge. I think you actually get to work on your game. Right. And you get to work on your skill set instead of just having to work on your body. Obviously, you still work on your body, but it's different being healthy going into the off season and being bumped and bruised and hurt and et cetera. You know what I mean? You spend a month and a half, 2 months just trying to get right. And then you start to work your way back. And before you know it, camp starts. So it's great to see him, take advantage of the time he had to work on his body. Myself as well, coming into camp, it gives yourself a lot of confidence when you have confidence in how you move. When
last season ended, you said on media day, it was I'm focused on finding ways to be better off the ball offensively. What did that look like practically in terms of your workouts? And was that more catch and shoot drill? Specifically, what were the things that you were doing to try to make sure that when Luka and LeBron and AR are on the court, that you're still involved and can help? Yeah, well, I mean, I took the first couple of weeks off of the court, and just worked in the weight room and my conditioning and just tried to stay in as much as I could in game shape. So that when I got to my workouts, I could tailor it that way. And so whether it was working on ghosting out of a pick and roll or a swing or catch and go, I was able to work on the actions of which, when I look at the guys that will likely be on the floor with, where I may have a chance to be aggressive and attack the seams, et cetera. I understand with the framework of our team, I'm not a guy that's probably going to get 20 shots a night. You know what I mean? So I just need to be efficient with what I do have. And so I tailored up to those actions, catch and shoots, of course, slip outs, spot ups as well. It's a lot of in the corner, especially the way Bron and Luka can pass it. So it looked like a lot of things. Some of them, I had some high school kids watch some of my workouts this summer, and they were like, he didn't really do anything crazy. It's like, the game's not that crazy. It's not that complicated, but you got to be detailed and efficient and approach every rep like it matters. So I just tried to have a real intent doing that this summer.
All right. Stop right there. That's obviously Gabe Vincent kind of chiming in on his perspective and obviously what happens this upcoming season. But look, it's his third year with the Lakers. And, the first 2 years were disappointing. I think we'd all agree with that. We'll see if he's able to have some real contributions this year. I'm sure for the Lakers, it would be so nice. It would be so key if they can get something from him. But I just don't know if that exists. And I think there's, I start a couple of these comments. There were some people that said some things. It's a good one. The IQ of the bench guys on the Warriors was superior to the Laker bench guys. Heavy lifting then for Luka and Bron all year. Not a good look. If there's one thing that I think the Lakers have struggled with these last couple of years, they're not getting what they need from their bench. There isn't this just crazy depth. And I think if you look at some of the teams right now that are having some of the most success in the NBA, they're not relying on 2 guys or 3 guys. I'm not talking about superstars. I'm talking about, yes, you got your main players, but you also got 6, 7 guys that, you can rotate into the mix and you could depend on. And Gabe's a key player that would be phenomenal if they can depend on him. It'd be phenomenal if they could depend on Vando. It'd be great if they could depend on, you name whatever bench player that you want to name. They're going to need these players. So I think it's a fair point. Golden State, that's been part of one of their strengths over the years. Slee, isn't that coaching, letting any of them stand around like we saw? This is Duran talking about the comment that we had about Dalton Knecht. Yeah, I think part of it is too. But instinctively, if you're a shooter, I mean, how could you be a shooter like Dalton Knecht in the NBA and think you're supposed to just stand around? Go look at the great shooters in the history of the NBA. They're constantly moving. And maybe, that is something that JJ Redick needs to get in the head of Dalton Knecht. Maybe he has, and Dalton just is not executing what he's asking him to do. Okay. So let's do this. I got one other thing on the Golden State Warriors. 7 Graham, thank you for the super brother. I appreciate you very much. I can't do calls, obviously when I'm doing this post game show, I can't do calls. But if you want to ask me a question, you could ask me any question. And obviously you could see that I go through these and I try to answer as many of these as I can. But I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for chiming in here, and feel free to put any question in there. Thank you for the super. Final thing I'm going to get into here real quick: the Warriors. Warriors kind of an interesting team, right? If they were healthy last year, I kept hearing Michael Thompson say it. If Steph didn't get injured, they'd have been in the Western Conference Finals, and they'd have probably had a matchup against the Oklahoma City Thunder. I guess we'll never know. But how they're going to be this year, I think, is all just going to come down to they're older. Clippers are older too. Are you healthy or are you not? And I think if they're healthy, they can be a headache for a lot of these teams. And if they're, obviously not healthy, then it's going to be a problem for them, like any team that's aging or is depending on a couple of guys. But Golden State, I got to imagine, is going to be in the thick of it. And if they are healthy, they're going to be the Golden State Warriors. They're going to do what they've done for a number of years. That organization has found ways to compete for years. And they've been the class of the NBA, you can call it, for the last 10, 12 years. So you got to give them credit where credit's due. All right. I think we are done for the day. I appreciate everybody, obviously hanging out today and jumping on here during preseason basketball. We got 2 preseason games that we've done so far. We don't have another Lakers preseason game until next Sunday, so we're going to have to wait a week to continue to react for, obviously following a Lakers game. But here's the good news. If you want more Lakers content, more NBA content, I'm on Monday through Friday, starting at 8 a.m. right here on this channel. So I will be back tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. We'll have a full show, get into a lot of different topics. I'm looking forward to doing that, and I hope you guys can join me there as well. Please subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much for hanging out. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will catch up with you guys tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Thanks, everybody.